what is a ratio budget, and how did the 50-30-20 wants, needs, savings method come to be? How much should you care about the actual ratios? I think ratio budgets are the best way to think about how you spend your money, but I don't think you should sweat the specific ratios much. In the description of this video, you'll find a link to download a free copy of the Plan to Spend Ratio Budget Calculator, available for Google Sheets. This free template is compatible with any ratio budget you want to use. It's designed to help you understand your current budget commitments and goals and help you plan for the rest. I'll give you a quick tutorial on how to use that calculator at the end of this video. But first, let's talk about ratio budgets, starting with the popular 50-30-20 method. It might surprise you to learn this method originated with Elizabeth Warren, who wrote a personal finances help book before she became a senator. And I think it gained popularity for its simplicity. It simply states that of your take-home income, 50% should go to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings or debt reduction. So your needs are going to typically be things that you cannot live without in the modern world. So everything from your housing and utilities to your internet and phone bills. A lot of these items will be fairly fixed or repeatable, estimatable, so they are some of the easiest items in your budget to plan for. Your wants are going to be things like streaming subscriptions, your travel goals, possibly eating out if that's something you want to prioritize in your life. And the last category is going to be savings, which could be a rainy day fund or something like a house down payment fund, as well as any debt reduction that is paying down principal on top of your monthly credit obligation. Your minimum payments are going to be classified likely as needs, but if you're working on paying off debt, then you might also want to budget for directly paying down the principal. Warren published this advice in 2006, and quite a bit has changed in the last 20 plus years. So it's not surprising that this budget is sometimes criticized as outdated or unrealistic. And definitely, if you're a young person starting out in your work or career, that's probably true. It could also be true if you're a millennial like me and you're struggling under the weight of high housing and childcare costs, or you're just feeling pinched by the post-pandemic inflation that we've all been feeling for the last year. Or maybe you're getting later in your career and you're really trying to save more for retirement. So I think that critique is fair. It's gonna be very specific to the person where their financial planning should be focused. But I would definitely say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on ratio budgets. They have been around much longer than 2006. Another popular book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which was published in the 1920s, also offered a ratio budget. And personally, I think the value is not the specific breakdown, but rather in that simplicity. And what I take from these methods, what I really think is important, are these three things. One, just that they make you consider all of these categories, your needs, wants, and savings or debt. Don't kid yourself and think you can just cut all wants out of your life, no matter how strapped your budget. Maybe you have much less available for wants based on your current finances. In my opinion, that's all the more reason to be considerate about what is most important to you with that money. Because if you don't plan for it, chances are it will be like a crash diet where any gains you see quickly evaporate when you give in to just being human. And I think that's where people are more likely to get in trouble. So don't skip your wants. And definitely don't skip some kind of savings. The unexpected is going to happen, and these can be really pivotal moments financially. If you're able to absorb the unexpected with savings, then you're going to avoid the kind of debt that accumulates quickly with high interest rates. So it's really important, in my opinion, and just from my personal experience, the best way to ease money anxiety. If you do have high interest debt, then definitely set aside some money to pay down the principal, even if it's $5. And maybe that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you consider high interest credit card debt, leaving that $5 in your principal is going to grow quickly to double and even triple digits over time. So don't think you have to make a big payment to make a real difference there. On the other hand, if your debt is mostly low interest education or housing loans, things like 7% or less, then you're probably better off focusing on your savings and investments over paying down that debt, because that money can work for you better, either in the form of that rainy day fund we talked about, or in a high yield savings account or investment account if you feel like you have enough cash on hand for emergencies. The second thing I like about these ratio budgets is it's just an easy way to visualize your budget priorities. How much weight does housing take up in your budget? Do your wants reflect what you want most? For example, maybe you really want to travel more, but you're eating out too much to tuck money away for that trip, or vice versa. Maybe you love your city and get more joy out of local experiences. It's really just a way to have that conversation with yourself or a partner. Lastly, I think itemizing your needs is really the best way to get realistic about your discretionary spend and understand if you're living above your means. If your needs don't allow for some wants and savings, then I think you're living on a razor's edge at best, and that's just going to not be sustainable, even if it feels like you're making ends meet. So that's where I think more behavioral changes or consideration on making more income would have to come into play. I started Plan to Spend because ratio budgets were really transformative in my life, and I enjoy building insightful, easy-to-use spreadsheets around them. It's also why I thought I'd offer the calculator portion of these sheets for free, because I hope somebody else can benefit. So let's jump into the tutorial. When you click that link in the description, you'll see my link tree. This may change slightly over time, but look for the link that says free download, build a ratio-based budget. Click that. It's going to open Google Sheets and ask you to copy the document so that you have your own version of this. Go ahead and select make a copy. Once you have your copy, you can customize this for your specific needs. It is pre-filled just to help give you an idea of what to include here. Things like housing, utilities, and how you get around, those are going to be pretty universal. Your wants might be different, and of course your savings and debt goals are probably going to be custom to you. So feel free to change these at any time. Secondly, you're going to put in the money that you plan to spend. This is effectively the money you're playing with in this budget. So it's typically going to include one or more paychecks. Add those here, add your frequency so it can calculate what amount you actually have. This should be your after-tax take-home income, actual cash that you're going to receive. It could also include, if you know you're planning to use some of your existing account balance in this budget, you could include that here. You could also include one-time payments or bonuses here. Trying to estimate that full 12-month outlook of the money that you're going to have to spend. Once you have that, hop over to the budget tab, and it won't look like much at first. This budget by type and how much you have allocated is going to fill in as you itemize your expenses, goals, and funds. So this is probably the most time-consuming part of this, but the most valuable to get right, because you are trying to estimate as close to 100% of that available spend from the setup tab. So here again, it's kind of pre-filled to help you think about things, common expenditures that people have and categorization of them. But you can change these, add to these, remove these, and of course you're going to need to fill in your amounts. Once you've itemized out everything you can think of for your annual spend, I think that using these calculations on the right is just a good gut check to understand, do these amounts look realistic? Like your holiday travel, for example, does that generally come in around $1,400? And yeah, just an interesting place to see, like on a per item basis, like what is the percent of your overall budget that you're putting towards that need or goal, and how does that feel? But the value here, I think, for that I don't see in a lot of calculators is in helping you adjust these ratios. So once I come back up top here, I can see pretty quickly that I have some issues with what I've itemized out and my current ratios that I've set this at. And this is, I think, going to be, fairly typical for people, that you're not going to fit just perfectly into the 50, 30, 20 or any other ratio. And I think that's okay, because again, it's really about like, okay, well, what is realistically the money that I have to allocate towards wants and needs? And that's going to generally be based on what you have left over after you've accounted for your needs. So here you'll see that the minimum to cover expenses for needs in this budget is 68.3%. And so it's giving me a warning because I've only allocated 50%. I'm going to go ahead and match that because I don't really feel the need to round up there. I've already sort of accounted for different variations and averaging out utilities and things like that for the year. So I feel pretty comfortable just saying I'm going to map that to the minimum expenses. Next then is the fact that I'm over 100%. So obviously I can't spend more than 100% of my income and stay within the black, so to speak, stay out of debt. So I'm going to need to adjust some of these down. In the first place, I'm going to do that is in my wants. I might go consider, like, have I really, if this is just 8.3, have I really considered everything in my wants budget that I'm going to encounter in the year? But if I feel pretty good about that, then I can adjust this down, and now I can see I actually have a little bit of budget left unallocated at this point that I could devote towards savings. And definitely it looks like I could be putting more towards savings in this budget in general. Oh, I forgot the number there. Okay, so that is going to be 23. Okay, and so that's a more realistic, I think, breakdown. I might decide that I want a little bit more round numbers in here, so we could round this up to 70, and then 10, 20. But no matter what, I'm going to want to consider what is this unallocated amount. It looks to me like the biggest place to think about what to do with that is in savings, so I would need to come back down to my budget plan to actually think about how to do that. So that's a quick overview. That in this calculator, that's all that's included, is just a way for you to estimate those expenses and understand what you should be budgeting on an annual, monthly, weekly basis to manage each of those. If you go to one of the other links in my link tree and you're interested in buying a budget tracker, this takes that setup and then actually allows you to enter transactions and track that against your actual spend and income over time. But yeah, this is just something I wanted to offer for free and give a little background on. Thanks for watching.